How's it going, everybody? Combo here. Today I have a very requested video. Today I'm going to be showing off my settings here in Season 5 of the Finals, and really for that matter, what they've been the entire time I've played this game. I want to make a very important caveat at the start of this video before I really get into it. You can skip this if you want, however I think this context is very important, so I'd recommend not doing that. But once again, if you just want to be like me, which in this case I don't necessarily recommend, by all means. So, I want to throw a situation out there for you, right? At the end of the day, everybody does things a little bit differently. I will agree that objectively, there is always a, more generally correct way to approach things. I think the big one you're going to see in this video is the use of the equipment wheel that I do. Most people will agree, and even I agree personally, that directional equipping is better. However, I've become so accustomed to the equipment wheel that trying to switch over puts me in a state where it takes me so long to get back to where I was that I've gotten to a point now where I think I prefer the equipment wheel even when I try going back to directional equipping. I'll give you an example of something similar happening, two examples rather, in real life. So I'll give you one for my sports-minded people out there. Maybe you can relate to this, maybe not. But one of the most famous golfers in the world is Jim Furyk, who has a swing where he essentially does a big loop at the top of his swing. If he weren't the person that he was, aka one of the most famous and talented golfers in the world, a lot of people would call him an idiot. And they'd say, dude, what are you doing? Do this, it's better. And for most people, that's 100% correct. However, looking at his success, that's what he's saying. He's going to stick with it. He's going to keep doing it because it works for him. Another example I want to give out, can't remember the dude's name off the top of my head. I'll put the video on screen. Super Smash Bros. Melee, one of the most competitive esports that I've ever seen, one of the fastest movement games in the world. There's a player out there who doesn't utilize wave dashing. If you don't know what wave dashing is, it's essentially a tech that lets you move across the screen really fast. There's a player that competed without even using that and did just fine. So what I'm saying here is you can utilize something that's maybe not ideal and still compete at a high level. In my experience, I've dropped in just normal games of quick cash, 40+ kill games. I can confidently go against top 500 players. You can go back to some of my streams and see that happen, and I can win pretty consistently. Actually, one of my streams, I was able to wipe an entire top 500 team using this setup. So once again, I want to say this not as a way of saying that you should use this, because once again, objectively, it's not going to be the best that you could probably do, but for me it works best. Okay, that was a super long introduction, but I really wanted to make that clear. Let's actually get into the settings. All right, cool. So let's check it out. One of the things you'll notice immediately, right? My sensitivity in the finals is quite low, and that's because the time to kill in the finals is quite slow. So let's go into my settings here, and we'll start with the big one. I am a controller player. If you didn't know that, I play controller on PC, which actually gives you a little bit less aim assist compared to console, which oddly enough, I kind of prefer, because on some weapons, you don't want things to be super sticky. It also allows you to swap between targets a little bit easier. So let's look at this one here. So looking at all this here, melee aim assist tracking is on. I think everybody should do this. Maybe not if you're on PC, I'm not entirely sure on that one, but I also don't play PC, so not exactly my place to comment. For my interface, everything here is basically standard. All the colors, all that stuff. Getting down to the reticle, we'll get there here in a sec. I'm probably going to do that whole thing in its own little section. But yeah, everything here is going to be the same. For my reticle or crosshair, whatever you want to call it, of course, in-world crosshair is turned on. And I'm going to go slowly here just so you can see it. I prefer center dot because that's what I'm accustomed to. I also like to have mine a little bit smaller than I think most, just because generally I think, really fat, wide crosshairs can work for certain weapons, like the KS-23, the bow, maybe even the sniper. I could see that working. But for me, right, I have the recoil patterns for the majority of the weapons in this game memorized, so the less space my reticle takes up, in my opinion, that's going to be better for me. So we'll scroll down a little bit so you can see this. My center dot radius is going to be 3. Once again, I don't want it to be too small. I feel like this is a good middle ground for me. Red all the way, because I think red, even though there is a lot of red in this game, I think it has the best contrast in most environments. I like the opacity all the way up. Once again, I want to be able to see that perfectly, because even though I have those recoil patterns, memorized for the most part, I still like to see how much my my bullets are spreading. So I'd like to have that opacity maxed. Outline opacity, not quite as much. Once again, that's just personal preference. There's not really a whole lot with that. And of course, the thickness, I like it to be just 1. I don't want it to be too thick because now it's black. And right here, once again, it's just enough to outline it. I can't speak. And for me, once again, I like it. I think it looks pretty clean. Moving down to here. So once again, I like the plus. It's just something that I've become accustomed to. I don't mind the T. I like the T if I'm using something like a 3-round burst. I think that helps me there. But generally, I like to go for the plus. The length of these, I like to keep them kind of short. Once again, going back to my my theme before, how I like to have just the entire reticle. I like it to be a little bit smaller. I have all these maxed out. The color in this one, once again, I just like to have it at white. Opacity is going to be 85. I don't want it to be quite as bright as my red dot, because the red dot's going to be the most important. And I like the thickness on these to be a little bit bigger, just to kind of match about the diameter of that center red dot. And once again, all this stuff, outline opacity is going to max, and the outline thickness is going to be the same once again, just because, once again, if I go to 0, I don't like it. If I go to 1, it's perfect. If I go here, I feel like it's a little bit too much. It's kind of hard on the eyes. I feel like this is perfect for me. Static reticle, I don't touch that. But if you wanted that there's my reticle. Please feel free to go back and slow that down. I'll also put timestamps in the description if you want to look at that. But there you go. There's my my reticle. Once again, I feel like this one here, compared to the controls and everything like that, I would recommend you give this reticle a try. I think it's one of the better ones. I've seen some crazy ones out there, but this is another thing, man. If it works for you, freaking use it. But if there's ever a time where it feels like your reticle screwed you over, I would say immediately swap it, because I've literally never had that happen the entire time I've been playing this game. Never felt like my reticle screwed me up. So once again, I would highly recommend you give this a try. All right, moving on to my controller settings. This is where people might, bat an eye again. Remember what I said in the beginning. I'm not going to reiterate too much. I like to have a very low sensitivity in this game, which is weird for me, because typically I play on like medium-ish. But in the finals, because once again that time to kill can be so slow, it's better to be able to keep on target, at least in my opinion. Now, where this kind of kicks me in the ass, and I've talked about this in some of my other videos, specifically those with melee weapons in the finals are always going to do better with high sensitivity, which is why, Embark, if you're listening to this, a wonderful quality of life change would be if you allowed users to swap the sensitivity of their game based on the weapon they were using. For example, I know Overwatch has had this for a long time. If you swap to a different hero, you can actually customize the stats. I would love to see that per build or per weapon in the finals. I think that would be really cool. But anyways, I like 185 on the horizontal and 175 on the vertical. I like my vertical to be a little bit, not quite as much. Just a personal preference. That's also what I've been used to. For the zoom sensitivity, I don't like it to be the same. I like my zoom to be a little bit shorter, a little bit slower when you're aiming down sights, and that's what that sensitivity is doing. Just because typically when I'm aiming down sights, I'm trying to be more precise, and it's easier to make those micro adjustments if it's not moving as fast. Same thing for the scoped zoom as well there. So focal length, this one I haven't really messed with it, I'll be honest with you. Not really my thing as much, but there you go. Horizontal look boost, this one's pretty important. I like this one just about in the middle. Turning quickly, things like that, pretty important. I don't mess with the vertical one because generally, once again, slower time to kill. I don't like things throwing me off target. I like to be pretty steady. I'll be real, don't really mess with either of these guys here. This one here, once again, the zoom boost ramp up time. So once again, this is like how long it takes you to accelerate while you're aiming down sights. I like to keep that just at 1. Now my dead zones, these ones here, I'll be honest with you, I haven't really messed with them. I like to keep them low. I haven't experimented too much, but for me, 10 and 15 has worked the best. I don't mess with inverting my controls. That sounds kind of insane, but if you like that, once again, that's all you. Exponential on the look acceleration and the look response curve, but once again, you can customize it here, but I just keep it on the base. Now here is the big one here, equipment wheel, man. Once again, when I first started playing the game, I didn't realize there was an option to go to directional equipping, and so I just stuck with that equipment wheel. And I do think there are some advantages. I think it's a little bit easier to animation cancel, and because I use a PS5 controller, using the equipment wheel doesn't make me take my hands off my left stick, which allows me to aim a little better. I wish I had a like a camera I could show you guys what I'm talking about. But once again, when you do the directional equipping and you use your thumb on your left hand to do that, of course if you're playing like claw, it's not an issue. But if you use your left hand on the D-pad, you're taking a hand off a thumbstick. When I'm doing the equipment wheel, I actually don't have to do that, which I think is a very big advantage. But once again, at the end of the day, whatever you wanna do. And I want you guys to keep in context too. Even if you hate my settings, I think my gameplay and my videos prove that, as weird as it might be, it definitely works. At least for me, as weird as I can be. Everything here, prioritize reload 100%. Zoom behavior is going to be hold. Crouch is going to be toggle. Same thing with sprint. Pretty standard stuff. I haven't messed with gyro aiming. Maybe give that a try in the future. Let me know if you guys want to see a video on that. I've heard it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty similar to a mouse, for what I hear. So pretty interesting. I'll have to give that a try in the future. Obviously, mouse and keyboard. I don't do that. I've thought about making a video about it in the future, just kind of, giving it a try. But as it stands now, man, I don't mess with it at all. So don't worry, or don't look out for any mouse and keyboard settings on here. Accessibility, I keep everything basically standard. Same thing with my equipment wheel. One big one here, and I recommend everybody does this if you're trying to be competitive, you're not worried about necessarily how the game looks. Bro, turn off motion blur. This makes a huge difference, especially when you're moving fast. So I would highly recommend that. I like to keep my flashbang color the white, just because I feel like in a lot of maps, it can be really dark. And when you get flashbanged in an area that's dark, I feel like it's more disorienting. I feel like the white is less for me. I don't know why, maybe I'm just weird. But that's my personal preference there. Audio, I feel like this doesn't really matter as much. Video, field of view. A lot of people like to play max field of view in this game, and I understand it. I like 85, not entirely sure why. I feel like it just feels natural for me. I feel like once you get to those super high field of views, one of the issues you start having is it feels like hitting targets at those longer ranges can get a lot more difficult. And I'm a weirdo. I like to use, like, for example, the the V9S, right? I like to use that at those super long ranges. And I feel like at those higher FOVs, that can be kind of difficult. So for me, I like to keep it at 85. So if I want to, I can use it at those long ranges. Scrolling down from there, ray tracing, of course, this is all just kind of my computer. Everything here I like to keep relatively high just for recording. Of course, these can go higher, but I feel like this also gives me the best performance. But really, guys, I mean, that's really just about it. Maybe I yapped a little bit too much. I hope the intro wasn't too jarring. But even if you look at this, right, even with my low sensitivity, I'm not moving fast by any means, but I feel like moving any faster in a game like TheFinals, where, once again, as I was talking about before, as you can see, when it takes like 2 to 3 bursts to kill even a light, and God forbid heavies with something like the 93R, having that lower sensitivity helps. Once again, with the equipment wheel, I've learned how to animation cancel. I've learned how to do just about everything with it. So for me, I feel like it works just fine. Once again, at the end of the day, I don't necessarily recommend this, but if you want to give it a try, let me know how it goes. Or if you want to tell me that this is weird, also tell me that. Anyways, guys, I'm so sorry for, putting this video off for so long. I'll be real with you, I was kind of nervous to make it because I feel like a lot of people are going to see this and be like, Combo, that's weird. But at the end of the day, right, I'm confident in my abilities in this game, at least for the most part. And this setup has done me wonders. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for the support on the recent videos. That's all I really got for you. If you want more in the future, or maybe like an updated, settings video, if I ever update, I'll definitely let you guys know. But yeah, that's about all I have for you. This has been Combo. Stay home, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.